report till 7. All right. Call the meeting to order. Oh, totally different.
Welcome to Nixa City Hall. This video is going to provide you with an overview of how the City of Nixa conducts City Council meetings. We encourage everyone to attend and participate in City Council meetings. This is part of how democracy works at the local level, listening to the perspectives of subject matter experts, city residents, and other community members helps our elected leaders make more informed decisions. Before we start the meeting, let's review some of Council's rules of order. These rules help us make sure our meetings are orderly and efficient, while protecting the ability of everyone to have an opportunity to speak. Please be respectful of the person speaking and hold your own comments until it is your turn to speak. Presenters are invited by the council to provide information during the meeting to the council. These are informational presentations only, and nothing will be voted on at the time of the presentation. Presenters are not time limited. There are 2 times when all other visitors will be able to speak to council. The first is during the visitors section of the agenda, and the second is during any public hearing regarding an agenda item. During the visitors section, anyone may speak to council about any topic, whereas the public hearings regarding specific agenda items allow you to make comments for council to consider before they make a decision on that topic. Whether you wish to speak during any public hearing or the visitors section, the following rules of order will apply. 1. Only one person should speak at a time. Be respectful of the person speaking and wait to speak until it is your turn. 2. Anyone speaking must do so from the podium and speak into the microphone. 3. You must first state your name and provide your address in writing to the city clerk before beginning your comments. 4. All speakers will be given 5 minutes to make their comments to the council. The mayor or council may have additional questions for speakers after this 5-minute period. 5. All comments should be addressed to the mayor and council. 6. If you have questions about existing city processes, programs, or policies, or if you need assistance from staff on any issue, please contact City Hall during normal business hours and we'll be happy to assist you or answer any questions you may have at that time. The public hearing is designed to provide the public an opportunity to provide testimony and information to the mayor and council regarding the decisions they may be considering. Keep in mind this meeting will be recorded and live streamed with video and audio. Therefore, all comments relevant to this meeting must be spoken into a microphone, otherwise video viewers will not be able to hear you. In the case of a closed session or technical difficulties, some meetings or portions of meetings may not actually be recorded or streamed. The use of cell phones during council meetings is discouraged, so please silence all devices now. Thank you for watching, and thank you for engaging with the City of Nixa. The meeting will begin shortly.
Sean Lucas.
Here.
Justin Orff.
Here.
Jared Giddens.
Here.
Aaron Peterson.
Here.
Darlene Graham.
Here.
Amy Hoekstra.
Here.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. And we'll move on to the consent agenda. Would anyone like to remove any items? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to approve.
So made. Second.
Roll call, please.
Justin Orff.
Yes.
Jared Giddens.
Yes.
Aaron Peterson.
Yes.
Darlene Graham.
Yes.
Amy Hoekstra. Sean Lucas.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to our service awards. We have 2 awards this evening. We have Dennis A. Cox with the Police Department, 10 years.
Mayor, Council, Dennis, again, has been with us for 10 years. He has actually only served his career in law enforcement with the Nixa Police Department. So he started with us and he's continued with us. During that time, he's been a patrol officer, a field training officer, a corporal, and now he's our training officer. And as a person who's in that role, he has several important responsibilities for our particular department. He is the person who keeps all of our post-license hours and keeps every single employee in our department that's commissioned current so that we can continue to hold our license. He schedules all of the training for every employee that we have. He sets up travel and per diem, so he is essentially a travel agent at the same time for our away training. He is the person who ensures that we are complying with every one of our policies when it comes to the required training that we impose on ourselves internally. He keeps all the training records for every employee, past and present. He runs our Citizens Police Academy, and he supervises our DARE officer. So those are just some of his major titles that he holds and attributes that he has. Outside of that, personally, Dennis is a really stand-up guy. He came, I always feel like I have something in common with Dennis because he came from more of a blue-collar type, manual labor type work prior to law enforcement. And, you know, that always serves people well because they tend to be able to talk to people. They understand how to deal with people from all walks of life. And he's certainly able to do that, and we're lucky to have him.
Congratulations. And we'll let you stay up there. Richard Utzler with the Police Department for 10 years.
Yeah, unfortunately, Sergeant Utzler could not be with us. He is actually out of the area following up on a high-profile case that we had a few years ago. And so he's doing some important work. But Richard has been here with us for 10 years as well. He has been a patrol officer, a field training officer, a detective, thus the follow-up on the case. He is our range master and firearms instructor. He is our SWAT team leader, and now he's a support services sergeant, which means he's over the support staff. He also oversees the training unit, the police services or the clerks, evidence, and records. And you can imagine that's pretty cumbersome to do all those things. He's been with us, you know, for a number of years, and what I've seen from him being from a former sheriff's department as a captain, he has great leadership ability, and we encourage him to continue his growth at our police department because we think he'll do great things.
All right, congratulations, Sergeant Utzler. All right, so Dennis, we got Ian's here. We got a for him. I think it's
No background.
no background.
There's also a train operation in our city. Oh, that's cool. Someone didn't silence.
And we will move Barb's retirement. She wasn't able to be here tonight, but we'll move her recognition to the next meeting. We'll move on to our proclamations. We will start with National Night Out, which will be August 2nd. Whereas National Night Out is an annual community building campaign that promotes police, community partnerships, and neighborhood camaraderie to make our neighborhoods safer and more caring places to live. And whereas it is essential that all citizens in the city of Nixa be aware of the importance of crime prevention programs and the impact of their participation can have on reducing crime, drugs, and violence in the city of Nixa. And whereas the city of Nixa's annual National Night Out provides a unique opportunity for Nixa residents, businesses, schools, and community organizations to join forces with thousands of other communities across the country. And whereas police community partnerships, neighborhood safety, awareness, and cooperation are important themes of National Night Out programs, and whereas the City of Nixa Police Department has continued their commitment to excellence in the service and to work together with the community to keep them safe, and whereas the city encourages its citizens to continue to help make our community a safer and more enjoyable place to live, work, and play. Now, therefore, I, Brian Steele, Mayor for the City of Nixa, do hereby proclaim August 2nd, National Night Out in the City of Nixa. Okay, we'll do this one.
I cannot get one of these is driving. I'm about to power cycle and really make it mad. breath again.
And our second proclamation tonight is for Purple Heart Day, which will be August 7th. Whereas the city of Nixa proudly supports its military veteran population, and whereas the contributions and sacrifices of the men and women from Nixa who served in harm's way in the armed forces have been vital to maintaining the freedom and way of life enjoyed by our citizens, and whereas the Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration in use today, which evolved from the badge of military merit created by George Washington in 1782, and whereas, I am out of breath. And whereas the Purple Heart is awarded to members of the United States Armed Forces that have been wounded or killed in combat with the declared enemy of the United States of America, and whereas the city of Nixa appreciates the sacrifices our Purple Heart recipients have made in defending our freedoms and believe it is important that we acknowledge them for their courage and show them the support they have earned, and whereas we celebrate our freedom, which should be mindful that is a gift of life given to each of us by the men and women who have bravely served and continue to serve our country, and the ultimate sacrifices they have made on our behalf. And whereas the city of Nixa encourages all residents to recognize and commend all active military men and women, veterans, and fallen military heroes, especially those who have gallantly earned a Purple Heart in the name of freedom. Now, therefore, I, Brian Steele, Mayor for the city of Nixa, do hereby proclaim August 7th as Purple Heart Day in the city of Nixa. And I think we have someone from the American Legion to accept the proclamation. And I assume we'll be putting up our Purple Heart flag on the 7th. And we're very honored to be Purple Heart City as well. So, all right, we'll move on to our visitor section.
We do have a scheduled visitor tonight, Rose Wilson.
All right, Rose.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Rose Wilson. I am a property owner in downtown Nixa. I own 2 buildings, as well as a business owner. I own Ladybug Floral downtown. And I'm here tonight because at our meeting, at our downtown revitalization meeting the other night, they wanted someone to represent some of the issues that we're having with a set of buildings that are downtown in our strip. So very briefly, we have one building, which is 119 South Main, that the roof is caving in on. The windows are falling, and they're down probably 6 inches. The windows are all cracked. It has horizontal as well as vertical cracks. I did submit pictures to the city. I also have some pictures with me, if that's of any interest to anyone. But we're concerned for 3 reasons. The first reason, obviously, we're business owners. We're all in connected buildings. That building is 1 building away from my buildings. And we're concerned with the pull of that broken building pulling on our buildings and damaging our buildings. Second one, very important, because every window in that center building is cracked, and the sills are down, and they could be projectiles on people that are walking on the streets. And we're very concerned about people that might lean against the building, if the building would settle at all and cause the glass to shatter onto the sidewalks. And then the third reason is just because it is so blighted to our downtown. We're working hard on trying to make downtown Nixa be a beautiful place for people to come and things to do. And we've got 3 buildings that are unused, that are, the owner does not want to sell, does not want to do anything with them, which is his right. But when you have one in the middle of it that is a danger and a hazard, you can't even photograph that side of the sidewalk without getting that in there. And then that projects to anyone that sees photos from one of our events that this is what Nixa does. You know, this is what we look like. So those are all my concerns with that. I have one other concern, and it's a little bit personal to me, because when I renovated 109, I was told that I could not make it into an inn for somebody to be able to rent or stay in overnight, that sort of thing, because of multiple zoning. In that building next to me on Ladybug, 121 South Main, there has been a man living in that building since I bought Ladybug. And he goes out there and he yells at people that park in front of his garage that he can't get his car out. He actually had a confrontation with me just a few days ago about how I needed to move my car so he could get his car out of his garage. And it's public parking there. He leaves notes on people's cars, tells them that they can't park there because he needs to get his car out of the garage. Well, that's not friendly, but the whole point is, why is he allowed to live there? Why is it okay for somebody to live in a commercial building when I couldn't even adapt a commercial building to be rented for overnight? And that's all I have.
Thank you, Rose. I believe we are working on all of those issues, but thank you for bringing those up to us as well. We appreciate that.
Mark Anderson.
Oh, a lot of what I have is ties in with what Rose had, except for I'm not just talking about downtown. Yes, the downtown is a huge problem for us as far as the blighted areas, but the blighted goes beyond just Main Street. There's several other buildings along 14, which hopefully the highway getting widened will eliminate some of those problems. But what I'm asking is for the council to speak with the city officials and maybe task somebody to start looking into these blighted properties and what can be done. Because I know the city of Springfield, they'll actually purchase rundown blighted properties, wipe them out, clean them up, sell them, as far as demolition. So it's a way for the city to actually do their part, help get these things gone so we can build something new and make it nice again. I don't know exactly which way to go about doing that. I haven't done enough research to give you advice on what I found out. But I do know that the city can push people to do something. All right, so if you own a building and you do nothing with it, it's not rented out, it's just run down. Okay, you can implement some fines. I know there's other states that do that. I think Florida would be one of them that Rose has some examples of. But the main thing is, conversation tonight is, let's get started with doing something. Let's put something in place where we can influence business owners, building owners, to do something with their property rather than just let it get run down and turn into junk. It makes our community look bad. It makes you look bad. It makes us all look bad. We want to be looking good when people come to our town, and having run-down buildings is not the way to do it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. All right, we have no other visitors this evening. We'll move on to our ordinance section.
First reading Council Bill number 2022-074, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract with D&E Plumbing for certain improvements to Truman Boulevard and amending the 2022 annual budget to appropriate funds for said contract.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It is with a high-level excitement that Jeff and I are up here tonight to present this ordinance for the approval of a contract authorizing the city of Nixa to enter into an agreement with D&E Plumbing for improvements to Truman Boulevard. This is a project that has been ongoing for several years. When Jeff started, he did not have a beard. However, we're finally able to bring it to you tonight. This is a project, if you'll remember, that we are utilizing federal funds on an 80-20 split for the roadway portion of the project. However, because the improvements, it also needed to provide water improvements and electric installation. We did couple all those together and tie them together into one bid package that included the roadway improvements, the water line installation, and the electric service installation. We did receive 4 bids for the project, ranging from $2.6 million to just a little over $3 million. D&E Plumbing was the lowest responsive bidder at $2,607,964. Although this amount was within the engineer's estimate for the project as amended after our budget was approved, prior to bidding of the project, it did exceed our budgeted amount because the monies that we budgeted last year did not anticipate the increase in material costs that we have experienced over the course of this year. So although the project was within the amended engineer's estimate for the project, this does come with a need for a budget amendment for both the water department and the street department funds in order to accommodate the needed improvement. Water department would be a budget amendment of $206,800, with the street department budget needing an amendment of $289,175. With that, I'm going to let Jeff kind of walk through the specifics of the project, what improvements we're going to anticipate out there as a result of this contract.
Mayor, council, this project, if approved, will allow for a connection from 14 Highway, just across the road here, all the way down to the south end of Nixa. This roadway project will provide a curb and guttered street, stormwater system, sidewalks on one street with a 8-foot or 10-foot trail on the other side. There will also be a roundabout at the intersection of Pembroke and Truman Boulevard. This project will alleviate current traffic, and it will also alleviate future traffic growth. It will also get rid of a small section of Norton Road that is much, much too small for the current traffic volume that's on it, so.
Any questions? Let's see, what questions do I have? So the sidewalk and trail extension, that will go all the way to Pembroke?
Yeah,
Yes.
just a little farther south.
A little farther south of Pembroke, good, okay. And so the road portion, I'm not concerned about. 15% is, we've seen the inflation of project costs, but we seem a lot off on the water, 150% off. Was that a mistake in our original assessment of the complexity of the project, or is it just the materials are that much more expensive for water now?
It's just, yes, it's just as a result of material costs. No, the complexity of the project did not change. The plans were designed prior to our budget year. It's just the budget was put together with the known quantity cost at the time, this time last year. Material costs have just risen that much.
Goodness. All right, thank you very much.
Sure, and just one last thing, I would like to point out that Jeff was the lead on this project, funneling through all the federal requirements and the federal paperwork, and he has done a tremendous amount of work, and he's to be commended for being able to navigate those federal waters. This is his first big project, and it was a monster of a project, and he has just done a fantastic job working through all the complexities of that federal paperwork and everything that's needed in order to take a project from beginning to the point where you can award a bid. So I just wanted to thank Jeff for that and let you all know all the hard work he's put in on it.
That was my other question. Are these amounts eligible for match as well? So we're only paying 20% of these additional costs?
Absolutely, thank you. Yes, the road portion of the project is the only item that is available for federal funds. The federal programmed amount that we have for this project is $1,530,550 that will be received for federal funds. So the remaining portion of that project will be, of course, utilizing city funds. However, we were able to work with property owners out there that are going to benefit from these improvements, and they participate in this project, with one property owner participating at a cost of $150,000, with a second participating at $104,000. So those are even additional funds on top of the federal funds that we received to go towards this project. So a lion's share of the project is being funded by outside sources.
Thank you very much. And we will open up the public hearing, if anyone would like to speak to this item. And we'll close the public hearing and move on to the next ordinance.
First reading Council Bill number 2022-075, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa authorizing the mayor to execute a memorandum of understanding with the Nixa Public Schools for certain law enforcement services.
Mayor, Council, recently the Nixa Public School District reached out to the police department and inquired about a memorandum of understanding so that they could potentially move forward with creating their own commissioned police department. This is a relatively new concept in Missouri. It's been done locally here, I know of, in Springfield and Willard, with Nixa wanting to follow suit. There is some benefit for them to have some control and autonomy over that, and so we were asked to participate in an MOU. That is a requirement by the statute to have MOUs with all the participating law enforcement agencies that are affected by the school district grounds and property. However, their enforcement, as you can see in my memo, is limited in scope to certain crimes. Mainly, they're going to be using statutory law as their basis for their enforcement efforts, not Nixa municipal ordinances. Additionally, there are several types of crimes that they will not be investigating, and they would defer to the appropriate agency. So, for example, if it's inside the city limits, then it would be the Nixa Police Department. If it were to be outside the city limits, then it would potentially be the Sheriff's Department or some other state agency such as the Highway Patrol. And I've listed a few of those on there, felonies involving threat of force, sex offenses, weapons offenses, misdemeanor marijuana possession if it's not student-related or they're an adult, investigations that may have, charges brought against an internal employee such as that, fatality accidents or injury accidents. So you can see missing persons and then anything else that we might mutually agree on if they want to defer to us or whatever agency has jurisdiction. With this, the school district would no longer be reliant on the Sheriff's Department to have their commission, so they would be fully commissioned by the board, the school board, and they would be able to carry firearms and do those enforcement efforts on their property, the buses, and then locations where they're having student activities. Any questions about those?
Will they be taking our officers?
I don't believe so. They're fully staffed at this point. I know that they're assessing that right now, and they may be adding school police officers. As you know, with things that are happening around the nation, it's put a real white-hot focus on school police and their responses. And I can only tell you that something like this would help them have an appropriate response to that. It allows them to kind of dictate their rules and their regulations on how they're going to respond without having to defer to an outside agency.
But it gives them an opportunity to call you guys in for help if they need it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the main thing to point out here is this memorandum of understanding is basically our assertion that we would cooperate and work together. They're still going to use our police channel, for example. They currently operate on our police frequency, and so by doing that, they're able to hear what we're doing in the city, and we're able to hear what's going on the school campus. So we'll continue those kinds of cooperative efforts.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief. And we'll open up the public hearing.
Good evening. I'm Ron Sanders. I live here, Nixa. And it seems like a good idea on the face of it, having security at the schools to respond to threats and everything like that. But let me just remind everybody that one of the things that makes our civilization, our society so civil is that the government has a monopoly on the use of violence. And the use of violence is through the police force. And what this would be doing, would be giving another government entity license to have a monopoly on the use of violence. And that use of violence will be over the children at the school. That's what police forces do. They have a monopoly on the use of force, on violence, to commit violence against bad actors, against evildoers. And they can use that to stop bad things from happening. There's a difference between having a full-blown police force and having a security force. A security force is for defense, okay, and to stop, really, really bad things from happening, like we've seen in the news and stuff like that. But then you have normal, everyday policing. And we're going to have a whole nother police force at the school, which on several occasions, this body has said we have nothing to do with the school. But now you will be inextricably entwined because they will be enforcing your ordinances. That's another big concern. It's right in there.
No, it says they will not. It says specifically they will not enforce city ordinances.
Oh, okay, well, good. But still, they will be enforcing the law to a certain capacity, which means that they have the responsibility of monopolizing the violence that it takes to operate a police force. And that's over our children. And I just don't see how a school full of administrators, full of counselors, and with, a school board and one superintendent and maybe an assistant would have the oversight over a police force that would be effective in making sure that we have the checks and balances to make sure that it operates correctly, and that bad actors in the police force do not do bad things. I just don't see that they have the capacity to have that kind of oversight, to initiate that kind of checks and balances that we have already established as a city, with our police force. If this is necessary, then maybe there needs to be a cooperation where the police force has a specific police force section for the school that would be accountable to our police and accountable in the way that most police forces are accountable across the state. But for them to stand up their own police force and operate it just like ours and just like the state police and just like the county sheriff's office, that's putting another entity in the mix that is going to want to exercise their right to monopolize that use of force, that use of violence upon the population that they control, which is our kids. If it was only about security, if it was only about making sure that everybody's secure, then that would be one thing. But to take it all the way up to a police force, I don't think is a good idea, and I think people should really think strongly about understanding exactly what a police force is. And that is a monopoly over the use of force against the population, a monopoly over the use of violence whenever bad things happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. That's probably a good question, Chief. Are they going to have their own captain that'll be responsible for the
Yeah, I have some.
monitoring of the policing portion of it? Like I
So-
said, like Mr. Sanders said, they're administrators and educators and not necessarily experts in police operations, correct?
Sure. I don't want to speak on behalf of the school police or the school district, but I can tell you that it's my understanding they have 7 employees now, and they have a person who is considered their director. I believe he holds the rank of captain with the sheriff's department. He would be potentially put in place as a director or a chief of police, just like any other police agency, with the same structure of a police department. And they would have the same kind of oversight, much like the mayor and the council have over us as the municipal police. So structurally, they would be very similar to how we operate a municipal police department. Policies and procedures would be dictated to some degree by the school board, it's my understanding. But of course, it's always within the framework of the state and the federal law. Does that make sense? And if you'd like, I can invite Captain Hartzell to the next, the second reading, and he would be able to probably expand on any questions that you have specific to his potential department.
That'd be great.
Definitely. Because do you know who will do their training and?
I don't have answers to any of that.
Yeah, so that'd probably be good if he was here.
Yeah, he would be able to probably explain all that. I do know that they already engage in all those things. They already have policies and procedures in place that they're following. I would imagine that being your own police department, you may have to address a few other things with some new procedures and such. But again, I don't want to speak on behalf of the school district or the resource police now.
Currently, those employees that you talk about, those are overseen by the Christian County Sheriff's Department currently, correct?
Yeah, so currently their commission is held by the Sheriff's Department of Christian County.
Okay.
And so he ultimately has some culpability or liability for those employees as they navigate those waters and execute their duties.
So in a sense, they're just taking on their own liability versus having the county or the city be liable for that.
Yes. Anything else?
No. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, sir.
And we'll leave open the public hearing. And close the public hearing. Move on to second readings.
Second reading Council Bill number 2022-071, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa rezoning the real property generally located at 906 Westview Drive from a neighborhood commercial district to an R1 single-family residential district.
Mayor, Council, good evening. This is for a rezone of Lot 26 in the Young Addition subdivision, originally platted in 1976. Most of the homes that are built along North Westview Drive were built in between 1979 and 1983. The surrounding zoning is neighborhood commercial to the north and the south, and then R1 single family to the east, and then it's bordered by Highway 160 to the west. Of note is the surrounding land uses, which is single family residential to the north, south, and east. Mr. Fields, the current property owner, purchased the property in 2009 after the original home that was on the property burned and was then demolished. Since the home was not rebuilt, or at least the process wasn't began within 180 days after it being destroyed, it lost its legal nonconforming use. So now the only type of development that can occur on this property is a neighborhood commercial variety. So he is requesting it be rezoned to R1 single family, and he has a buyer interested in it contingent on the rezone. Since this lot is in a residential subdivision, it does have immediate access to all Nixa utilities. And this rezone was presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission at their July meeting. The commission voted unanimously to recommend approval. Staff recommends approval, and if you have any questions, I'm available.
So once it's switched back, it would no longer be non-conforming like a house in a future commercial district. It would just be.
Correct. It'll be a single-family
just be a
home on a
single-family.
single-family lot.
And so someone in the future would have to apply to switch it back.
Right.
If whoever put that street as neighborhood commercial in the first place assumed that they would put businesses there
Correct.
at some point, right?
Correct. The best I could figure out in my research is that this strip of property along Northwest View Drive was most likely rezoned through some type of citywide zoning update, either most likely through the 1991 comprehensive plan, as that is the earliest zoning map I could find, and it did show this as a commercial zoning here, because there was no information in any council meeting minutes showing any type of rezone for this property, so it had to be some type of citywide update as to it. But yes, if a developer were to come along in the future, they would most likely have to buy numerous properties in order to make a substantial commercial development possible in this area. So right now, the most likely, most highest and best use of this property is single-family residential.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we will open up the public hearing. If anyone would like to speak to this? It's gonna make the map ugly. I don't like it. I like extra yellow squares in the middle of the pink
I
squares.
think at the last council meeting, we talked about at some point looking to rezone all that to
Switch it
single
all back,
family.
yeah. Yeah, they haven't done it in the last 30 years. Nobody's put a dental office in one of those houses or whatever.
Is
It
there
was
different-
originally assumed someone was going to
Is there
do.
different tax inclinations with how it's zoned? When it comes to
But-
property tax?
No. Also slightly concerned about the, kind of the precedent it sets, not here, but on 14 or somewhere else where we have that same non-conforming use zoning set up, where we don't want people to switch it back, because we want them to turn that lot into something else.
I think the one thing with this one is access.
Yeah.
Tough to get.
All right. Well, we're chatting during the public hearing, but public hearing's still open. And we will close the public hearing. Any further discussion that we didn't just already have? in the public hearing? All right. Accept a motion to approve.
So made.
Second. Roll call, please.
Who took that second? Jared Giddens,
Yes.
Spoiled now.
Aaron Peterson,
Yes.
Darlene Graham,
Yes.
Amy Hookstrat,
Yes.
Sean Lucas,
Yes.
Justin Orr.
Yes.
On this one, due to conflict of interest, I'm going to recuse myself.
Second reading Council Bill number 2022-072, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa, rezoning the real property generally located at the southeast corner of North Cheyenne Road and East North Street from the General Commercial District to an R3 multifamily district to a planned unit development.
Mayor, Council, good evening. A little history on the property. It was originally annexed and zoned in 2015. It's part of the entire 77 acres of the Cheyenne Valley subdivision that is just east of Cheyenne and south of North Street. It did receive R1 zoning along with general commercial and R3 multifamily zoning. In 2019, it was replatted to move the multifamily to wrap it around the general commercial, because at the prior annexation, it was a larger piece was general commercial, and then directly south of that was the R3 multifamily. This is a better practice of zoning to have multifamily surround general commercial zoning. So a little background on a plan unit development. It basically allows a developer to write their own zoning code for their development within certain parameters that we have established through our code. So this particular developer is looking to do a plan unit developed mixed use, which is going to combine the two uses that are currently zoned. So if we switch over to the site plan, you'll see there's two buildings that are proposed to be in where you see the general commercial zoning. Those buildings will have general commercial on the ground floor and then multifamily above it. So, and then the blue buildings that you see are just proposed to be your regular apartment complex, your multifamily dwelling units. So when looking through their proposal, the main thing people want to know is, like, what's the difference compared to our code? The first difference is the density. They're proposing to have 15 dwelling units per acre. Our current R3 standard, our multifamily standard, is 14.52 dwelling units per acre. So going to 15, it's only going to increase their max dwelling units by 4 units. So our PUD code section does allow for increases in max density based off of certain facts of their development. So, for example, being 1,500 feet from a school would allow for a 1% increase in max density. Joint parking would be another 1%, and new jobs, creating new jobs would be a 5% increase in max density. In this case, they're only looking for roughly a 4% increase, so they had the potential to go higher if they so chose. Another big difference is the max building height. They are proposing a 60-foot max building height. Current R3 standards for the city is 35 feet. It's important to note that Cheyenne Road is the dividing line between Ozark Fire Protection and Nixa Fire Protection districts. So we reached out to Chief Matheny with the Ozark Fire Protection District. He said that they have no limitations on height, no limitation or restrictions on building heights. They have apparatuses that can properly service buildings that high. We did also reach out to Chief Wallace with the Nixa Fire Protection District, and he stated basically the same thing, that they have equipment that is capable of properly servicing buildings potentially 60 feet in height. Another big difference is their approved uses for this development. They are, for the commercial area, they are seeking more of uses similar to personal services, stuff like barbershops, tanning salons, similar in intensity as that. But they also include offices, restaurants, medical offices, and they do have a section in their proposal that allows the planning director to determine, based off of an application, if it's of similar use and intensity, then the planning director can then make that call as to whether or not it can also go into this development. The big thing with their proposal is their prohibited uses. They are not allowing outdoor storage, golf courses, convenience stores with gas pumps, and banks with ATMs or drive-throughs. So all those, besides golf courses, would be allowed in a general commercial zoning inside the city limits. We don't have golf courses listed in our table of approved uses. So, and then the last difference would be setbacks. So they're in line with our typical front setbacks for commercial buildings. The big difference is their rear setback, which would be for their multifamily buildings. City standard is to have those set back 12 feet from the rear property line. They're proposing having 25-foot setback. So they're increasing that setback to allow for more vegetation to provide for that opaque screening that is required between commercial uses or multifamily uses and single family. A traffic impact study will be required at time of development to show what improvements need to be made at their points of entry. This rezone was presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission at their July meeting. A public hearing was held, and a few residents approached the commission to voice their concerns about traffic congestion in this area. Some of them went as far as requesting that development be halted in this area until actual road improvements to North Street and Cheyenne could be made to better flow the traffic on it. With that in mind, the commission voted unanimously to recommend approval for this rezone. Staff recommends approval, and if you have any questions, I'm available.
I have a question. What's this little kick out on this end?
That is part of, they will be accessing or have another access through the single-family subdivision that is there. So where it dead ends, there's actually a road that shoots north. That's part of the single-family subdivision.
Okay. It just seemed to go nowhere, that's why I wanted to know.
Yeah, it looks a little odd in this context.
So they just bought one of the lots up there,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah.
Is there an estimate on the total number of inhabitants that there could be if all units are occupied?
From what I can see, based off their site plan, it's roughly 82 dwelling units, or I apologize, it might be 89 dwelling units. So again, based off of their 15 dwelling units per acre, they would be allowed 125 dwelling units, and they're only proposing about 80, roughly 90 dwelling units.
So
Okay, but there hasn't-
3.5 people per unit, if you want number of people.
Okay.
Were they breaking that into phases? Weren't they doing
It is not a requirement of our PUD code to show the phasing breakdown, but it is that they can break it into phases if
Okay.
needed.
I couldn't remember if they said that at the P and Z meeting or not.
So it seemed like the most drastic part is the height from 35 to 60, is that what you said?
Yes, that
So
is.
so our normal, we have the current three-story apartment complexes we have fit in the 35?
Yes, depending on the type of roof, they can fit it into 35 feet.
Okay. And so these would be 4-story, 5-story?
Again, it depends on the type of roof they use. If they go flat top roof, potentially they can get 4 stories. If they go the typical your pitch on your roof, then it'd most likely just be a 3-story.
And our fire department can go as high as 4?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they can do. Yeah, I got
And you said a
100-foot
traffic
ladder.
study would have to be done, but
That they do.
when would
gonna be nice.
improvements be made or have to be made in relation to this actually being completed and inhabited?
The road improvements would have to be made prior to a certificate of occupancy being issued for this development.
Okay.
But again, the extent of their improvements will be based off the traffic impact study for their points of entry.
And that was a similar question that was asked at the planning and zoning meeting, if they could do the road improvements prior to it, and kind of how much traffic would be caused by the construction crews, which the construction crew traffic that'll be minimal, because it's not like you have all the framers, concrete, all those people show up in the same day. And then on doing the roads first, that makes even kind of less sense, because technically you'd probably have to build the roads twice, because the trucks would tear them up.
Oh, yeah, the roads, the internal roads.
Yep.
Do you have any idea what some of the comments were from the people that live around there when they came to the meeting?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Do you have any recollection of any of the comments the people that live around there made when they came to the zoning meeting?
A lot of them were concerned about the traffic congestion that's already in the area due to pickup and drop-off times with the school. Another concern was that when this property was originally annexed, the original property owner said it was going to be a 55 and up subdivision or multifamily development. Obviously, it received the proper zoning for that, but then as the property has changed hands, that zoning obviously allows for a lot more than just 55 and up.
Will any of this be 55 and up?
Not that I'm aware of.
See, that's where I have a problem, because homeowners in that area were promised it was going to be a certain buildings going there. Now it's been sold, now they want to do something else totally that we had one person talk last time that was saying this is not what they were told. This has happened before, and then in Nixa 2, we had property, it was supposed to be one way, and someone came in and said, no, I want to build this instead. And property owners came and said, we were told this, we were promised this, and now we're changing it. And I have a big problem with that. As a property owner, I would have a problem with that.
And I could understand that if it was the same ownership, but you can't, the city,
I
we
know.
can't tell, I don't think anybody promised anything, I would say. They might be saying, hey, this is the plans, but plans do change.
I feel like that was
As
the
you-
majority
As you
of
have
the
different ownerships,
frustration.
but I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
The majority of the frustration that I saw at that meeting was more of, they were told that Cheyenne Valley was gonna be pretty much identical to Wicklow,
Yeah. it's not.
and then that, so I think they were just kinda upset about a lot of that. However, I bought my house with an open field next to it. There's no guarantees I'm always looking at cows. That could change next week.
That's true, it's just,
Any other questions?
so are they really looking at putting just a 2-story or a 3 or a 4?
I do not have that information. No construction plans were submitted yet.
And that's another concern.
Probably do the math, let's see.
Have you seen the one on the way to, in Republic at M Highway and 60? It's just like, I think it's a little, it's gonna be, it's bigger than this one. But it's retail on the bottom and apartments above it. Actually, it actually looks really good. You should drive out there and look at it.
You want me to drive to Republic, Jared?
You got a Prius, it'll be fine. We can carpool, I'll go show you.
Well, there's 42 little blue squares, and so if you say there's 89 total units, then it must only be 2 stories tall,
Yeah.
because that's how math works.
Plus the commercial
Plus
volumes.
commercial.
Plus the
Yeah,
commercial
well, yeah,
property.
there's 6 residentials on top of the little commercial blocks.
Okay,
right?
gotcha.
That's the extra.
That's the way they
That's the
did
extra
the-
9, right?
Yeah, that's the way they did the one in Republic.
Yep. So yeah, if they went 3 stories, they would be over the max for the amount of units they could have.
Yeah. I'm glad you're a math person.
Yeah. And count squares, I like that.
Again, it's just proposed building height. It's not saying that they're going to go that high.
I might move over there.
Yeah, good.
Do what? Sorry, I wasn't listening.
It was just a proposed building height. There's no, based off my conversations with them, they don't have an intent to go that high, but it is
Fine.
within their PUD that they could.
Could go high. Okay. Yeah, and on the commercial one, they may want 20-foot ceilings in the commercial portion and have the
Right.
apartments on top or something. Okay, any other questions? Nope.
Nope.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we will open up the public hearing.
So when we have issues like this that come up when we're rezoning things,
Who are
that's...
you, sir?
Who are
Oh,
you?
I'm sorry, Chris Wells with the Nixa Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm also a Nixa resident, but I'm representing the chamber tonight. So when we have issues like this that come up that talk about rezoning and traffic studies, that's for you to make a decision on. So I'm not going to judge that. That's not for me. But what I want to explain to you about the economic impact this can have for our community. Right now, we're currently really way down on available inventory for commercial applications, commercial operations. So when we look at some of the strip centers, we have a few vacancies here and there in town. And so that is one thing that I'm looking forward if this project is voted upon by City Council and approved, that this would improve maybe some additional economic opportunities in that part of town. We all know that our future growth, and we're based on Highway 14 widening going eastbound, we're wanting to see more things go that direction. And I think in the long term of the scheme of things, when we look at what the potential of what could be at Cheyenne and Highway 14 on the southeast corner and that future development as well by Steve Oaf, that we could see more things that would serve our citizens. And when I look at additional dwellings like this in apartment complexes, there's a mixed emotion on that. But what I can tell you is that is affordable workhouse, or affordable housing for our workforce. And so when we have additional spaces like that, it does give people who maybe can't afford a home yet and they're just still working those first-time jobs, those different jobs that need workforce that can afford to live in that location. It provides a cool environment. It may drive additional young entrepreneurs back to our community. This is what we see in Springfield a lot. We see this even in Republic. And the younger generation tends to like these kind of areas, which brings younger talent back to our community. So the economic impact on this could be very, very large for Nixa, and I just want you to make sure that you take that into consideration of all the opportunities that it does possibly bring to the Nixa community. And that's all I wanted to say about that, unless you have any questions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. I assume we captured enough right away to build the roundabout or whatever else goes at Cheyenne and North Street?
There's only a couple of these.
Anybody can shake their head yes, or no.
There should be. Currently, that design is still preliminary. However, looking at what we would do with that intersection, the intersection will actually move north a little bit because of the issues with some of the utilities in the area, so it should be fine.
Okay. All right. And the public hearing is still open?
More of them are two-bedroom, two-bath.
Name's Ron Sanders. I live here. Listened to what everybody had to say at the last meeting, and one thing that stuck out to me was the possible water issue, you know, with the drainage and everything, flooding the county properties just below elevation of these projects. I guess the other Cheyenne Valley may have shifted some of the drainage to where some of the county folks just to the east of these projects are starting to notice that their yards are flooded. I believe a lady came up here and talked about it. You know, she's starting to see flooding when we actually do have rain. And if these projects are going to start causing those kind of problems with those neighbors, eventually those neighbors are going to become incorporated into the city. And how are they going to feel if the city created stuff like this that negatively affected their quality of life, you know, whenever they were living in the county? So that's something to think about, because, you know, they have nice houses out there. They were there before this, and now we're going to create what we think is a really good project for the city, and possibly at the expense of their quality of life living in their properties just below it in elevation, just to the east. The elevation does go down towards their properties there. And that's something that everybody should consider, because if I lived down there and this caused a lot of flooding in my backyard, I'd be a little bit upset. Plus, the other thing that I would like to mention is, although I've spoken positively about roundabouts, I will caution you on this one, because just looking at it, it gives me the reflection of living in Germany, where as things developed, people, the cities ended up taking roundabouts out and having to put in traffic lights, because the roundabouts were no longer doing the job that they were intended to do. This may be one of those places where a roundabout would not be preferential, because it's not going to serve the purpose that a roundabout serves. A roundabout serves great for one-way traffic, you know, one-way traffic in the morning, one-way traffic in the evening for commuter and stuff like that. And it also serves to slow people down on country roads and county highways where otherwise people would blow through stop signs and cause accidents. And we've all seen the little picture of the guy coming through and going airborne across the old roundabout. What a roundabout does not do very well is it does not handle or meter traffic when it's coming all ways at the same time. It actually bottlenecks, and it causes more of a problem. And that's a human problem, because people don't know how to act in roundabouts. But in this particular case, I think it would end up being a problem, because you do have four-way traffic coming to that stop sign all the time. There is no one-way commuter traffic in the morning. There is no one-way commuter traffic in the afternoon. You have the schools right north of there that, you know, everybody's going to drop their kids off, and then they're turning around and coming right back through that intersection to go back home. The roundabout will not fix that problem. Only a metered traffic light, in my opinion, only a metered traffic light would really fix that problem right there. And I think if we spend a whole bunch of money on a roundabout now, in 3 or 4 years, you'd probably be replacing it with traffic lights. Those are the two things that I see with this project here. Concern for the county residents that are to the east, that's a big thing, because eventually they are going to become city residents. We know it's right there. And roundabouts, yeah, they're not good for everything, and I don't think it would be good for this one.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders.
Mayor, members of council, my name's Jay Wynn. I'm with CJW Transportation Consultants that represents this property. I wanted to clarify a couple of things. A traffic study was done. Improvements will be required, and our client is willing to make them. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we are required by city code to provide a basin to collect the water, and we will not discharge any more than that's discharged out there today, to ensure that there will be no impact downstream. So I wanted to share that with you all. If I can answer any questions, I'll be glad to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Did we looked into the lady's comments regarding the discharge from Cheyenne Valley down there to make sure that they've met whatever their original requirements were?
I haven't looked into them personally, no, but I can tell you that we do have certain regulations that allow only a certain amount of outflow regardless of what's built there. That's the reason for the detention basin there. And of course, the size of that detention basin and the outlet is dictated by our city codes that allows for only a certain amount of water, no more than historical, to leave there at any given time. So that being said, could there be more water? Yes, because there's not as much being absorbed on site. However, it releases at the same historical rate as it always did, so it gives it time to get away. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Kind of.
Maybe, kind of. My question is more, did they, not that the city code doesn't require them to do that, but did they do it in the correct manner? Did they put a 24-inch pipe instead of a 12-inch pipe coming out of their discharge basin? And
As far as I'm aware, yes, the Cheyenne Valley to the south, Daisy Falls, the other piece to the north of that, they've all met that city code to where the exact same code that I just mentioned to you. So it only discharges at a historical rate in the historical locations where that water has flown or has flowed forever. And they'll be required to do the same here.
all right, we'll leave the public hearing is still open. And we will close the public hearing. Any further questions or discussion?
Has the school district weighed in on this at all with an opinion about the traffic or anything? No?
No, not that we're aware of.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And what's there now is general commercial and R3, correct? So in that one corner where the commercial is proposed in the PUD is strictly general commercial. Therefore, anything can go in there like gas station or any type of business, just a singular business.
Currently, yes, under current city code, yes, a gas station would be allowed in the general commercial zoning.
So this would probably be more aesthetically pleasing than just one large gas station?
Generally, yes.
Since there's
There'll
nothing
be a
else.
large gas station on the other corner.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, technically, he could scrap this idea and build a gas station today without it being rezoned.
Drew, is it possible to pull up like a Google map that shows this piece of property?
Doing it right now.
Aaron's gonna do it.
Yeah. Since we're talking about this.
Okay, it's in Macaulay Farm Road.
Pretty close.
Okay, so where exactly is this located on this property? Right
That's
there?
where right there.
That's what I thought, I just wanted to make sure.
I don't know how that's not flowing.
I believe we approved storage units on the east side across the street from there.
Southwest.
Southwest,
Yeah.
right?
Because we've done something
No, southeast.
on the other side.
No, southwest, you're right.
West.
Southwest, right. Okay.
I know, I
Yeah.
got my directions
There you
mixed
go.
up too. So I was like, maybe
That's
you're
all
right.
Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, accept a motion to approve.
So made.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Aaron Peterson,
Yes.
Darlene Graham,
tough. I'm really torn on this. Can I say?
Like you said, the way it currently is, you could put a gas station, you could put all
I know, I don't
four-story
want that.
apartments, you could put whatever you wanted. This is
Can
a
I
nice
say-
development.
Can I say yes with reservations?
Sure.
Okay, yes with reservations.
Okay.
Amy Hookstrat,
I'm also going to say yes with reservations.
Sean Lucas,
Yes.
Jared Giddens.
Yes.
Because they don't want a gas station there.
Like I said, the big gas station, the other corner across the street.
I know. I gotta say something, so. Yeah. Right now, that's a busy corner.
Somebody comes up with the 2 million instead of the 250,000, roundabout cost over the traffic light.
Yeah, I know.
All right, we'll move on to the next one.
Second reading, Council Bill number 2022-073, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa, amending Chapter 22, Article 1 of the Nixa City Code by adding thereto a new section and amending the city's technical specification manual to provide for an exemption from outside the city limit water, and sewer.
That's a long one. This council bill, to try to say it a little shorter, would allow for those properties, those residents in the soon-to-be-acquired RDE Tuscany Hills Water and Sewer Systems to consent to a future annexation to be able to receive inside city water rates and sewer rates, I'm sorry. Current code has separate rates for inside and outside the city limits. The outside city limit rate is 1.5 times the inside rate. And as discussed through this past nearly a year about the potential purchase of Tuscany Hills Water and Sewer and the RDE water system as a way to offer for them to have a lower rate than this 1.5 times, we could offer them an option to consent to a future annexation because they're not eligible today. And then we would allow them to use that inside city water rate. As I mentioned, they're not eligible for annexation today. If they did choose to sign that at some point when they are eligible, when the city grows in that direction, they would automatically become a city resident or inside the city limits. So I guess that's it in a nutshell. Is there any questions?
Any questions? Is it possible for us to propose a resolution, ordinance, whatever we would need to exclude this for some period of time? So if I wanted to say that we're not going to charge the 1.5 times for 3 months or 6 months from the purchase of the systems, so that we give them enough time to consider. You know, we're saying that we're going to switch over in 6 weeks or whenever, and then all they have is the one meeting here, and
We could possibly do some writing like that, but I don't believe there's a restriction on here as when they can do that. They could come in a year from now and ask to do that. They could pay the outside city rate.
No, that we wouldn't charge, we'd only charge them the current rate and not the 1.5 times rate.
Oh,
Give them time to make the decision to do this before they're charged extra.
So you're asking, basically, once we make the purchase, instead of immediately start charging all the residents 1.5 times,
Right.
have a grace period in there where we go out and talk to them, or the city goes out and talks to them and gets them to either sign up or either accept or decline the annexation offer, and that determines their rate after that period of time.
Correct.
The intent to annex.
Right.
Right, the intent to annex. So it's not probably an easy decision for a lot of those people, and maybe something they would want to do or want to consider, but so we're gonna take their RDE rate, we're gonna double it already just because the RDE meters don't work, and we're gonna replace them all, and they're gonna have to pay more. And then we're gonna increase it by 50% more than what the city rates are on top of that. So if we had a a staggered thing. You said it much, Sean said it much better than I did.
It's, to me, the only downfall of that would be, and I could be wrong, but that sounds like an accounting nightmare.
Yeah.
And by the way, no. I'm just kind of curious who it's actually going to affect, because we just.
I mean, the rate is the rate, so they either have an outside city rate or an inside city rate. So if we gave them time to decide, and then at a certain point, if they don't have a, you know, whatever we do, you know,
I guess it's the same
Remember,
process,
sign up
just
form
6
in
weeks
the
later.
office by a certain time, then they can automatically be
Yeah.
flipped to the outside rate. I don't see it
So it's the
as-
exact same process, so 6 weeks later, or whatever time frame.
mean, we
The
could
more I
make-
thought about it, the more I realized
we could
that
make
was
it work.
wrong.
I think that would be just a direction by council, it'd be a council
Yeah,
call.
that's
and We'd
council's
be
call.
happy to present something off council's direction. I'll kind of refer to Nick, if it would be best to either amend this or go ahead and approve this for the long term and then come back with something temporary. I'm not sure how you'd.
Yeah, in my mind, I was okay with just approving this, and then making an exception for a certain amount of time to this.
Well, we'd have to come back with another ordinance, and that'll take
Right.
2 meetings, or 2 readings, unless you want to read it at special meetings.
We have time before the
We should have
actual
plenty of
purchase
time.
comes through. I think we have a month at least, right?
Yes, we would be at least 30 days out,
Yeah.
and maybe a
I think
little
we have
longer
time
than
for
that. So we
Okay,
can.
so that
we
really
can-
didn't have much to do with this. It was something totally related though, right? Okay. Any other questions for Doug on this particular ordinance? And they'll bring back another one related to what I just said.
Very good.
I'm not opposed to your idea at all, but that kind of brings up the question, aren't these people that are affected being given lots of notice and opportunities to learn about this prior to the purchase being completed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We will have, actually, I was going to announce it later or remind about it later, but there will actually be a Missouri Public Service Commission hearing tomorrow evening in this room, actually, for the Public Service Commission to take comment on those types of things. And of course, part of that discussion will be this ordinance, although it hasn't been advertised that it's done, it's that city council is considering it, so. But that'll take place tomorrow evening. And then the one for Tuscany Hills, which will be done by city staff, will be Thursday evening.
Yeah, but it's much more impactful when you actually get the first bill from the city of Nixa
Right.
that says,
Right.
my dad's been getting a $10 bill from RDE for
Right.
20 years. And so when he gets
so, yeah.
the
And so for
$30 bill or whatever it is from the city of Nixa,
Right.
it's going to be impactful to him, and he's
Right.
going to
So for that
be more
reason, that's
interested.
why I can see your idea,
Give
but I
them a
don't
little
think
bit
it
of time.
needs to be more than like, what did you, like 3 months? Is that
3
what you
months, or, yeah, I don't know,
suggested?
some 90 days or whatever.
3 bills or
3 bills or
something,
something. Seems reasonable.
But they could sign up to do it later on if they chose not to do it at the beginning?
Yes, I think
That
that's,
would
yeah,
just be
that's what
$2
they're
and
saying.
1.5
Yeah.
times until they did.
Until they
Okay.
decide to do
Right.
it.
Oh, that might spur them on.
Yeah.
But we'll discuss that when that ordinance comes. We
Yeah.
can discuss that.
Very good.
Okay, thank you, Doug.
You bet.
And we'll open up the public hearing. If you'd like to speak to this item. Seems like I had something else to say. I can't remember what it was now. And we'll close the public hearing. Any further discussion?
I do know that I've had a couple residents in that area that are very excited about the city taking it over, and they're already willing to be annexed if we'd let them.
Yep.
That'll be the interesting, because my dad is the next domino in the wall of dominoes. So if he decides to annex, then I don't know how that would work. We'll have to see how that turns out. I did have another thought.
This ordinance is specific to the RDE acquisition and the,
RDE and Tuscany Hills.
And Tuscany Hills.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say, is that what this does is, what this is really doing, that has nothing to do about setting the rates. What it's doing is because currently it's illegal for us to provide water service outside the city to these people that were buying their water service. So what we're really doing here is saying we're gonna do it. These are the rules we already apply to everybody who happens to have water outside the city. We're just applying it to them as well.
Yeah.
Anything else we do to help those people from that point on is beneficial, right? Any other discussion? All right, motion to approve.
So made.
second?
Roll call, please.
Darlene Graham,
Yes.
Amy Hoekstra,
Yes.
Sean Lucas,
Yes.
Justin Orff,
Yes.
Jared Giddens,
Yes.
Aaron Peterson.
Yes.
All right, move on to the resolution section.
Resolution number 2022-076, a resolution of the Council of the City of Nixa authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract with JCI Industries LLC for certain repairs to clarifier number 4 at the wastewater treatment plant.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The purpose of this resolution is to authorize a bid award for needed repairs at the wastewater treatment plant. We currently have a bearing on clarifier number 4 that is failing, and so we have provided a bid scope to replace that bearing. We did only receive one bid from JCI Industries to replace the bearing at a cost of $25,744. JCI does specialize in this type of work and has done work for us in the past, and we are very comfortable recommending approval of the resolution to authorize the bid award for these needed repairs.
Will they have any issues getting the parts needed?
No, they've indicated that they would be able to perform the work immediately.
And we have the money available to do this without any problem?
We have money within the budget. Obviously, this is not a scheduled repair, so it was not specifically put in the budget. However, the budget at this point is able to absorb it. Now, I say that because hopefully we don't have any more emergency repairs that pop up before the end of the year, but currently we are able to absorb it.
Any other questions? Thank you, Travis. We'll open up the public hearing. Close the public hearing. Any further discussion? Motion to approve.
So made.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution number 2022-077, a resolution of the Council of the City of Nixa authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract with Streetwise Incorporated for the striping and painting of traffic markings on certain city streets.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. This resolution request will allow us to enter into a contract with Streetwise Incorporated. We do have the amount, the not-to-exceed amount within our budget, so we are good to go there. This is a company that we have utilized many times in the past and have always been very satisfied with their work. So it is staff's recommendation to award this bid to Streetwise.
Any questions? Thank you very much. And we will open up the public hearing. Close the public hearing. Any further discussion?
No.
Motion to approve.
So made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution number 2022-078, a resolution of the Council of the City of Nixa authorizing a multi-day event for the proposed special event referred to as Saturdays at the Crossroads.
Mayor, Council, good evening. I'm going to preface this with an apology. I'm going to be saying north and south a lot, and if I get them confused, please let me know. So the Nixa Downtown Revitalization Committee has submitted a special event permit to have a portion of South Main Street from Highway 14 closed all the way down to East Elm Street. It is to be in line with the MoDOT project for improving the intersection of Highway 14 and Main Street. They are scheduled to flip to the south side here soon. This memo was written before we had a known date as to when they would start. So there is an amendment to this resolution to change the start date from August 1st to July 27th. Because we were notified late last week that MoDOT plans to start the other side of the intersection tomorrow. So again, the Nixa Downtown Revitalization Committee is proposing to have this section of South Main Street blocked for the portion of, for a timeline that's okay, let me start again. The timeline of this special event will align with the closure of the 14 and Main Street intersection to southbound traffic. Yes. Okay. So, again, we amended the resolution to have them start start date tomorrow, and the end date will either be September 10th or whenever MoDOT opens up the intersection to southbound traffic, whichever occurs first. So the Nixa Downtown Revitalization Committee would like to create a courtyard in this area, atmosphere to help bring people back to the downtown area during time of construction. The planned activities, as you see on the screen, include bringing food trucks, games for kids, face painting. The most interesting one to me is a fruit ninja. So pedestrian safety is a top priority during this event. MoDOT will have their control measures in place at Highway 14 and South Main Street intersection, blocking southbound traffic from entering this area. They will also have detour signs just north of East Elm Street on South Main. Yes. So the Nixa Downtown Revitalization Committee will also place concrete barricades in the northbound lane of South Main Street, just north of East Elm Street, to provide a little extra security for the pedestrians. Our code does require that we maintain a roughly 18-foot fire access lane. That will be achieved through the southbound lane of South Main Street, where MoDOT plans to have their traffic control measures, their detour signs, which my understanding is they will just be held down by sandbags, which create an access point for first responders to be able to get through into that area. So if at any point that MoDOT changes their traffic control measures at the Highway 14 South Main Street intersection, additional concrete barricades would be required to go in place up there to prevent southbound traffic from finding their way into this courtyard. Insurance has been already submitted in the proper amounts to comply with our code. Let's see. And staff recommends approval. If you have any questions, I'll attempt to help, but I'm sure a better salesman will come up behind me.
Any questions? Thanks.
Thank you.
And what about public hearing? Mr. Anderson?
Mark, what he said. So, you guys, anybody else have any other questions about what we got going on down there?
What's the fruit ninja?
It's Mark dressed up with a
Isn't that game where you
hood over his
slash
face
the
and a
fruit?
sword.
Yes.
Cutting watermelons.
Yeah,
I have no idea what a fruit ninja is.
Come on
Come on,
up.
Ashley. Come on, Ashley.
You can come up, that's fine. So, we asked the question.
A fruit ninja is where we're gonna have local grocery stores donate fruit, and you can like smash it with different things. So kids with
Okay.
little things, you can throw it and someone can hit it with a bat like a bad watermelon or cantaloupe or something.
Okay.
Yeah, makes use of bad fruit. So you get to be a ninja with fruit.
Awesome.
Ninja with fruit.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I think you just won them over.
All right.
All right.
Anything else?
Did I miss the time frame? Like what the time is on these dates? From when
Like
to
the
when?
hours, I guess.
Yeah.
We're kind of wanting to be able to play around with it a little bit. We're hoping that this will give us the ability to see what hours people like to come down. We're thinking mainly 10 to 3, but then hoping to try to do maybe one night to see if that's something the city of Nixa community likes to do, and come out and have food trucks at night, and music and stuff like that. So it's mainly gonna be on the weekends, but still opening like a courtyard area where people can just hang out and stuff during the week. And then with a few things here and there to test out.
Okay, thank you.
Now, would there be a Facebook page that someone could go to see what is going on, hours of operation, things like that?
Our downtown page, we
And-
have an event that will have that on there.
So if someone was to look that up, what would we look up?
Courtyard at the Crossroads. We actually had originally called it Saturdays at the Crossroads, which is in this, but we changed it to Courtyard at the Crossroads because it's not just gonna be Saturdays.
So Courtyard at the Crossroads on Facebook.
Yeah.
All right.
It's an event on our downtown page.
Awesome.
So an additional purpose of this is to see what could be downtown. It's not just a okay, well, we're gonna make use of the road for now. It's like, what could we actually do with downtown? Because it's possible that we could just permanently leave this section of Main Street closed, and it could be permanently a downtown courtyard. So now we got parking and other things around it, and now we have a solid place for everybody to come congregate. Maybe, maybe not.
Maybe
You
not.
know, some people may not agree.
People.
It could be.
The community likes it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's just giving, you know, taking this opportunity and doing something with it.
Yeah.
Bring in additional vendors, give people opportunity to do something.
So are the other vendors gonna be intense? Is that kind of the concept? And is that gonna be overnight? We're gonna have a security issue with that?
No, it'd be a setup breakdown, tent type of deal.
Just on Saturdays.
So they wouldn't be leaving them overnight for the next day?
No. The only things that may be staying overnight would be like food trucks and such.
We have games and stuff, but we plan on bringing those in every night.
Okay.
And then setting them back up in the morning. They're easy things.
We got cameras down there now. We can watch stuff.
No comment.
All right, thank you, guys.
But this is just gonna be on Saturdays, right?
No, it's
No.
all the
All
time,
weekend?
Yeah, it's the entire time that the road
for
is
6
closed.
weeks. Yeah.
Oh, the whole, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't read it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, Saturdays are the crossroads.
a
then we have-
naming
okay.
Yeah, so,
May
Okay,
rename
yeah.
court.
so originally, we were going to try to go for just Saturdays and try to bring something for the weekend life, but since the road will be closed anyways.
Okay, yeah.
But there'll be more stuff going on the weekends,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday is when more things are coming out,
Okay.
like the petting zoo and the fruit ninja and stuff like that. But during the week, it will be a courtyard setup, just where
Great.
people can hopefully just congregate and hang out.
Okay.
Is there gonna be like additional like seating added out there?
Yes, if you have a
Tables
picnic
and chairs?
table, we would love for you to bring it
Yeah, we are
out.
taking donations.
I wish I
Yes.
had any, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
we're
there will
gonna-
be additional seating, and we're going to utilize some of the niches and for
Okay.
little mini parks. Have some trees, shrubbery, make it pretty, make it cool.
Yeah, cool.
I think it's a great idea.
All right, thank you, guys. And we'll leave open the public hearing. Mr. Russell.
Really fast, because I just want to compliment Chris Russell, Nixa Chamber. You know, Ashley and the events committee have worked really, really hard on this. They've been struggling to figure out ways to get people down there. And there were some early concepts come up about this, and Ashley just loved it and ran with it. And, you know, during our strategic plan, Imagine Nixa, we had so many people looking, you know, oh, do this, do more festivals. And yet, you know, we find very few people that actually want to step up and make it happen. So I just want to compliment, and I am on the Downtown Revitalization Committee, but I wasn't involved really in any of the planning, was I? A couple questions, you had some logistics questions I answered with. So I just wanted to compliment Ashley, who's a business owner down there with Sugar Cube Lane, and all the hard work that her and the events committee have done to make this happen. And I hope it just is a big success for Nixa. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. And we'll leave open the public hearing. And we'll close the public hearing. Any further discussion?
Nope.
Motion to approve?
So made.
Second. One second.
Mayor,
Don't we need
you
the?
might want to consider amending the
Oh,
the
oh,
resolution first, so
yeah.
that we have the date.
We got all
We've
excited.
requested
Yeah.
a
We need,
late notice
we
on.
need the motion to be done as amended, I think, right?
Yeah, so move for approval of Amendment 1 as submitted, and then you can bring up the resolution as amended.
I will make the motion to approve it with Amendment 1.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. But I don't need to do another one for the,
Yes, because the notice was late and all supporting documents contain references to the original date, not the new date. Now that it's been amended, you can approve the resolution as amended.
okay. So who
I
wants to
will
make a
make a
motion?
motion to approve the resolution as amended.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. And that was all we had. Anything else from staff?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier this evening, tomorrow evening, here in this room, the Missouri Public Service Commission will be holding a public hearing for the potential sale of RDE water system to the city of Nixa. That's put on by the actual Missouri Public Service Commission because they're regulated by them. It's not actually put on by us. However, we will be there in case we need to answer any questions or anything like that. Thursday evening, we'll have another one. It will be at 6 o'clock. It's obviously it's open for everybody, but it's mainly for the purchase of the Tuscany Hills Water and Sewer and to answer questions for those folks and get them started. And then there's another item I wanted to bring up on September 27th. Again, in this room, there will be a public meeting that MoDOT is putting on to take input for their scoping project for the intersection of State Highway CC and Main Street. That's a little farther down the road, and I'll try to remind you again when it gets here, but that's at September 27th at 4.
Is the one tomorrow night at 6 o'clock as well? 6 o'clock, okay.
And then I'll also just mention that we are planning a Purple Heart Day event, so watch closely. We hope to have something, a date solidified maybe by tomorrow, so just watch for that.
Anything else? No?
There's a
Anything
blood
else?
drive
No, there's blood drive, yes,
in
Wednesday.
2 days.
Yep.
Yeah, from 9 to 2.
I think there were still open slots, so if anyone would
Yeah.
like to come out and give blood with us here at City Hall, we'll
Yeah.
be having that on Wednesday from 9 to 3 or
9
something.
to 2, I think it is.
Maybe. I think I have the last slot.
Oh.
I have the 150 slot, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
But there still were extra slots if you are available for that. And that, if you give blood that day, you are then eligible to give blood in the Mayor's Challenge blood drive against Mayor Jackson Ozark that will go along with Backyard Brawl Week. So we'll have another blood drive, not here probably, somewhere, I don't know. Do we decide to have it here, Drew? Okay, here. We'll have another blood drive here in late September. All right. Anything else from council?
I was just going to mention this week, the Finley family fundraisers are happening. So the Experience Nixa app has all the businesses that are donating. So feel free to check those out and figure out a way that you can help their family.
Anything else? All right. Motion to adjourn.
So made.
Second.
All in favor?